Hello, contractors, and welcome to Toolbox for the Trades. My name is Jackie Aubel, and today I am chatting with Brigham Dickinson of Power Selling Pros. Let's jump in. Brigham Dickinson of Power Selling Pros. We are here today to talk about how to create CSRs that book 100% of the time and how to create a buying environment for your customer. I'm so excited to have you here. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Jackie. I appreciate it.
I'm so excited to get into it. You've got a wealth of knowledge that I know our audience wants to tap into. But before we do, I'm going to kick this off with an icebreaker. I know that you're super passionate about health and fitness. So I would love to know, what's the most memorable thing that's happened to you while training for or running a race?
You'd think it's winning a Spartan race. And my goal in 2019 was to win a Spartan race. In fact, I trained really, really hard to win one. It's a really childish way to set a goal like this, because the first time I did a race in 2019, it was a group of guys at the front of the line that were kind of pounding their chests and cheering each other on and high-fiving, and some of them were taking a knee and praying, and I was like, holy cow. And of course they all knew each other and not me. And they kind of looked at me like, I don't recognize this guy. And I'm like, all right, how do I get in on this group, right? This cool group of guys. And of course, my thought was as well, I'm just going to have to beat them. And so that was my goal. I was like, all right, by the end of the year, I'm going to get on the top of the podium here, or at least get on the podium at all. Mm-hmm. And so I set a goal to podium, and I ended up doing 10 races in 2019.
Whew. Wow.
Yeah,
that's
it was fun.
Races.
Super fun. And I took fourth twice.
Wow.
How's that for a kick in the pants? No, I wanted a podium, Jackie. I wanted a podium.
Oh my goodness.
So fourth was not good enough. There's one time I did take fourth. It was in Hawaii. I brought a bunch of business owners with me. They all wanted to do the race. I don't know why.
Oh, interesting.
But I know. They all wanted to do the race, maybe because it was in Hawaii. I don't know. So one of the guys' names, business owner in Utah, his name is Crandall, 6'5", 250 pounds. And he said, hey, I want to do the race. And this is about 6 months before the race was going to start. And I said, dude, Crandall, you're going to die. This is a crazy race. It's 3,000 feet of elevation gain. It's 25 obstacles. You can watch us and it'll be great. And he said, no, man, I'm going to do the race. If you're doing the race, okay, I'm doing the race. Okay, cool.
And how many miles was it?
13 miles, 3 to 4,000 feet of elevation gain. And it ended up raining on that day. So made it even funner. But he said, hey, I want to do this race. And so I said, great. Let me give you a training regimen. If you follow it, you can do the race. And he's like, okay, sounds good. And sure enough, he did. He followed the training regimen. I lost about 40 pounds over a 6-month period of time. And he was in an open heat. I was in a competitive heat. I started about 8:30 in the morning, and he and the rest of the business owners started around 10:30. I said to the group before I started, I said, you guys, as soon as I'm done with my race, I'm going to go back onto the track and find you guys, make sure everybody gets in. I wasn't really saying that to anybody except for Crandall, right? I want to make sure Crandall got in. So I get to the 5-mile mark after I'm done with my race. And usually I'm exhausted, I'm toast. But because I had my team out there on the field, I just hydrated up and ran back out there. Nothing to eat aside from like a banana or something like that. Get to the 5-mile mark, and I see this guy coming through the trees, and sure enough, it's Crandall. And he's like kind of tired and frustrated. I said, look, I'm going to wait here, just over here at the 8-mile mark, because from the 5 to the 8-mile mark is kind of a big old loop. Sure, and I said, I'll wait for you here, and I'll wait for you to come in. Remember, he starts his race at 10:30 in the morning. So he gets to the 8-mile mark at about 5 in the evening. And when I see him, he's like, wow, I can't believe you're still here. And of course, in my head this time, I said, I can't believe I'm still here either. And he says, Brigham, I'm done. I'm toast. And I said, what do you mean you're done? You're toast. He said, I don't want to run anymore. I just want to find the golf cart and get off this stupid mountain. And I said, well, I don't know what you're talking about, bro. The only way through this thing is the finish line, man. You got to go over this hill and around this bend, and that's what you got to do. Now, I didn't tell him that the golf cart was there about 10 minutes earlier, and it was already taking 2 people. And so I just kind of said, yeah, golf cart. What are you talking about, golf cart? And he said, but Brigham, I'm exhausted. And I said, but you're still upright. Let's go. Let's get this thing done. Oh, wow. And he's like, all right, fine. And so I took him through and we went over the hill and across the bend. And I kept telling him, just around this, just over here, just around. And he's like, Brigham, stop talking. I don't believe you anymore. And I said, just keep coming. So about 7:30 at night, sun was going down. He begins to hear the cheers of the rest of our team. And he starts picking up his pace. And next thing you know, he is sprinting and I can hardly keep up with him myself. Crosses the finish line. As soon as he crosses, everybody's there cheering him on and tell him what a great job he did. He turns around, he puts his hand on my shoulder and he says, Brigham. I said, what? And he said, I never planned to finish this race. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he says, well, I figured I would train for 8 miles on the first race and 8 miles was good. Thank you for helping me finish the race. Now, the way I felt in that moment, Jackie, was worth 1,000 podiums.
Yeah.
I felt amazing. I realized that we set goals all the time, right? Hey, my company's going to be this big. And funny thing, as soon as we get there, we're like, hey, okay, now I want it to be this big. Well, now I want it to be this big and this, and you just keep going as if somehow being more successful financially is going to fulfill us. I realized in that moment that winning is not necessarily what fulfills us. What fulfills us is the people that we bring with us to the finish line. And so my focus changed from that point on. And since then, I've been on the podium plenty of times. And I spent 2 seconds up there, right? Get my medal, jump off, and go back to what I was doing before. It's the same response that I would have as my company grows and achieve certain milestones. It's a big, okay, cool. Now let's set another goal versus the happiness that I feel with the people around me and helping them get to the point where they're performing at extremely high level and achieving like I am. I get a lot more fulfillment out of that than wins. So I think that's probably the most memorable athletic experience.
Well, thank you so much for being a guest on Toolbox for the Trades. You gave me everything I needed to hear. Subscribe, leave a review, all that stuff. No, I'm kidding. What a wonderful story. And I think something that is so impactful and so important to remember as you are in this race of life. I talk to so many owners and operators here who have achieved incredible success, whether that be, a fleet of dozens of fleets of vans or, tens or millions of dollars. And I think the ones that really, really are able to celebrate that accomplishment are the ones that don't focus anymore on themselves, but focus more on their team members and how they've helped their team members. So, and I think your story is a wonderful reflection of that.
Yeah. Yeah. We've got a lot of great leaders in this industry and they focus a lot on how to make more money. And that's great. And that's important. We all need it. But even more important are the people that we bring with us.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the folks in this industry, how did you find yourself in the industry?
Great question. So it was kind of by accident.
Literally, that is the answer. Oh, it's like I just fell into it. Same here. Your host, you're also in this 2-person interview. I also have that answer. So please continue.
I had just finished a 2-year mission in Brazil and got a job with a company called Ascend Marketing. And the way that I got that job was I was selling cinnamon roasted almonds at a mall. And I was giving out free samples. And the guy that I was giving a free sample to, his name is Jim Ackerman. He said, hey, I like your sales pitch. And he gave me a card. He said, hey, come to one of my seminars. And so I came to one of his seminars and he had a room full of contractors and he was talking about marketing. And back then it was newspaper, direct mail, TV, and radio. Why can it be that simple today? I don't know. but that's what it was back then. And he was really good at copywriting. I mean, he would write some fantastic copy. He would teach others how to do the same thing. And so I thought it was really cool. But he happened to have a coaching program. And towards the end of that seminar, I said, hey, let me in. I'll start from the bottom. I want to learn how to do this stuff. And he said, all right, sounds good. I also switched up my degree to marketing from that point on as well. I was going to be a marketing. And so one of my clients happened to be a company called Arctic Care in Chico, California. Royal Hockley is the owner of that company. And I coached him for a while on his marketing stuff. Within about 6 months, he said, Brigham, I really am not going to do the stuff you're coaching me to do. Oh, geez. Okay. I appreciate your honesty. Why not? And he says, well, I'd rather you just do it for me. I was like, oh, Okay, I guess that makes sense. And I said, well, look, you're going to have to talk to Jim because this isn't going to work, right? And so he flies down, talks to Jim, and convinces Jim to allow Royal to offer me a job. And so sure enough, he offers me a job. And I pack my family up and go from Salt Lake City, Utah to Chico, California. And next thing I know, I'm answering phones for a heating and cooling company and doing their marketing. And so that's how I got in the industry. That was like 20 years ago, Jackie.
Wow.
I can't remember the last time I told that story.
Wow.
Look
And
at
then
you.
how, I know, just cracking in, just getting all the goodies right away. So I would love to know, for folks listening who don't know who you are, what is Power Selling Pros and what kind of services do you provide?
Yeah. So I'll just tell you the next chapter in that story. So Kevin Comerford, the owner of Service Champions, was Royal Hockley's boss way back when.
Oh, okay.
And
Can I just say real quick, Royal Hockley, what a name.
I know.
What a name. Yeah.
Royal.
It does. Truly. But also kind of, I don't know. It just sounds like something in like a spy novel or something. That is a phenomenal name. I could not let that go. Continue.
Yeah. Well, I will say service experts, they're going to have you have to get rid of the last person you hired type of thing. And this was within 60 days of me being hired. So Kevin called him and said, hey, you got to let the last person you hired go. And Royal had just moved me out to Chico, me and my entire family. And he went to bat for me and said, absolutely not. I am not going to let that happen. And so he explained what I did and how I did it, to the point where Kevin said, wow, he must really know his stuff if you're really going to fight for him like that. And then next, Kevin wanted to visit with me. And so Kevin came to Arctic Air in Chico, California, and sat down with me and said, so I hear you do some marketing. And I showed him some marketing ideas for about 5 minutes. And he said, that sounds great. Show me how you answer the phones. I was like, what are you talking about? He said, it'd be very simple. I just want you to show me how you answer the phones. Ring, ring, ring. And then just silence, waiting for me to answer that phone call. And so I said, this is Brigham with Arctic Air. He's like, that's it? That's all you got? I said, well, I mean, you kind of caught me off guard here, Kevin. What are you looking for? And for the next 2 hours, he drills me on how to answer phones. Well, you fast forward about 5 years later, I was unemployed. In 2008, I had just suffered a failed business. I had an idea. I drew it on a piece of paper. It was the first version of this, the pattern for excellence. It's what we teach and how we teach it at Power Selling Pros. But I drew the first version of that. And I had a couple of clients that I was a broker for an ad agency. If I sold a client, they would pay me. And if I didn't sell a client, they wouldn't pay me. That's just the way it was. That's just the way it worked. And so one of my clients, Nearings Plumbing Heating, the owner's name is Troy Nearings. He brought me in because they just started SEO and pay-per-click, and I brokered the whole deal. Mm-hmm. And he did it for about 2 weeks, and he said, Brigham, these leads are no good. And I was like, what are you talking about? These leads are no good. He said, well, they just want a ballpark price. They just want to know what we charge to come out. They just want to talk to a technician. We don't know how to book these calls. And I said, well, I could train you to do it. Now, the reason why I could train him to do it is because Kevin taught me how to answer the phones 5 years prior. Mm-hmm. And it was awesome too, because Kevin would call me every 2 weeks and act like a different person, whether it was an old lady or a cowboy or whatever. And he said, even if you recognize my voice, Brigham, you need to stay in character. You continue to be the CSR until the end of the phone call. And at the end of the phone call, he would always say, okay, so it's me. And I'd act totally surprised. Oh my gosh, Kevin, I had no idea it was you. You are the greatest old lady I've ever seen. Right. So he taught me how the importance of answering phones and how to do it and how to train others to do it. And so I said to Troy 5 years later, I said, Troy, you don't need to fire me. Of course, in the back of my head, I was like, please don't fire me.
Because I would love to get paid.
Yes. And he said, all right, you can train my team. We'll do it for another month or so and see what happens. And his call conversions went up after that by about 20%. And then I got a call from a guy by the name of Tom Robichaud. He's the owner of Precision Plumbing and Heating in Boulder, Colorado. And he said, hey, I hear you're training Troy's team. Crazy thing how this industry, they all talk one way or the other. If you do a good job, they're going to talk about it. You do a terrible job, guess what? They're going to talk about it. And so Tom was like, hey, I hear you're training Troy's team. I said, yep, I'm training his team. One-on-one coaching twice a month using their own phone calls. And he said, that's great. And I'm doing advertising. And he's like, I've got that covered, but I'll pay you to train my CSRs. And of course, the light bulb came up over my head. I was like, holy crap, I can get paid to train CSRs. And so I helped him increase his call conversions. And of course, I hired my little brother. His first check was like a $20 bill or something like that. And then I hired Barry Gates. He left a $50,000 a year job and full benefits to work with me. And I paid him $1,000 a month for the first year. They're both still with me, believe it or not.
Wow.
Yeah. And Tom and Troy get together and they say, hey, we got to help Brigham out. His stuff works. And so they referred me to a guy by the name of Mike Agugliero and in East Brunswick, New Jersey.
CEO Warrior.
That's right. He's the one that founded CEO Warrior. And before he did all that, he brought me in and said, all right, if you do a good job, I'll refer you to everybody. And I'm going to grow your business for you. I was like, sweet. And sure enough, as soon as we did a good job for him, he started referring us to everybody, everyone. And of course, I started hiring all my friends and Jackie. I don't have a lot of friends. They all work with me. And ever since then, we've been helping contractors book calls, wow customers, and make more money through CSR coaching and training. That's what we do at Power Selling Pros.
Amazing. And I love how you highlighted how you were trying to make this marketing thing work. Like, I know marketing, let me help you with marketing. And they're like, no. You were going to help us train our CSRs. And you were like, all right, hint taken. I will now adjust my life plan and trajectory accordingly, which is wonderful and fantastic. I know at Power Selling Pros, you have CSRs that book 100% of their calls. So how can our listeners whose ears just perked up and are really interested in learning about this, how can they increase their call conversions?
The first thing they need to do is read the book Green Eggs and Ham by Dr. Seuss. Okay. When's the last time you read that book?
Oh, I would have to say when I was in single digits, and it's been quite a while since then.
Okay, so this is the greatest sales book of all time. Why is it the greatest sales book of all time? Well, because it illustrates Sam I Am's ability to take a customer who does not like him. That Sam I am, I do not like that Sam I am, right? He obviously doesn't like him. In fact, when he initially comes into the scene or onto the scene, the customer is essentially sitting down, reading a newspaper, minding his own business. Yeah. Okay, Sam I am comes in on a dog, not just sitting on a dog. He's standing on a dog and he has a sign saying, I am Sam. Of course, the customer's super elated to see him. Not at all, right? He's got to be awesome in order to sell Green Eggs and Ham. By the way, the eggs are green. The ham is green. Okay. This is going to be a tough sell. Is it not?
Of course.
So you got to have the right mindset. So he goes through, and by the way, Sam I Am goes through 70 objections and 15 closes. 70. All right. By the time he's done, not only does he get the customer to try Green Eggs and Ham, he tries Green Eggs and Ham. And he loves Green Eggs and Ham. In fact, he loves Sam I Am. Thank you, Sam I Am. Right? Mm-hmm. It's incredible. So 2 things that are going for Sam. Number 1, he has the right mindset. Okay. He just doesn't take no for an answer.
He believes in his product.
Yeah. He believes in his product. Exactly. And he owns his process. He has a process, right? He's like, hey, could you with a dog? Could you in a box? Could you? And he's ready, right? No matter what the customer says, he's ready, right? He believes in his product that much. So you got to have the right mindset. So that's number 1. And what is the right mindset? Well, every call that comes in is an opportunity. All right. So say the customer gets on the phone and they just want a ballpark price, which never happens except for all the time. Okay. Especially right now. Okay. I'm just looking for a ballpark price. Now, if you look at this real quick, Jackie, pattern for excellence, right?
And I just want to stop real quick in case folks are not watching this on YouTube and instead are listening on Spotify or on Apple or wherever you get your podcasts. Brigham has a chart on the video feed, which will be on YouTube. It's this pattern for excellence.
Yes. Good call, Jackie. So I'm going to go through each of these principles real quick for those of you who are just listening. Okay. So the first principle is have a positive attitude. Sam has a positive attitude. The second principle is confidence. Crazy thing. Sam is super confident in his product. Okay. Super confident in his ability. And then below, towards the bottom here, you've got listen, you've got care, you've got reassure and ask. Now I'm going to focus in on those 4 principles right there. And we could talk about building value and being grateful later. Now our end goal is to create a wow experience for the customer, as you can see right here. Okay. Wow experience. And as I go through these principles down below here, I'm going to show you why it's so important. You see, the customer needs to feel understood. They need to feel cared about. They need to feel reassured they've called the right place. And then once you've done those three things, you'd be surprised at how easy the call is going to be, even if they want a ballpark price. Okay, so here's how it works. I'm just looking for a ballpark price. Great. Tell me more about your situation. What's going on? What am I doing? I'm listening. I'm showing the customer that I'm listening. Tell me more about your situation. What's going on? Well, I've got this air conditioner. It's blowing hot air. My gosh, that's terrible. How long has it been doing that? Oh, last couple of days. What did I just do? I showed him that I cared about a situation. Last couple of days. Oh my gosh. So you've been doing this for 2 days now. This heat? Yeah, it's crazy. My mother-in-law, she's living with us and she cannot go without AC. I hear you. That's not good. Not a good situation. Well, look, we can totally help you with that. I just reassured. Okay. I can definitely help you with that. You've called the right place. When would you like us to come out? Well, this afternoon would be good. What just happened there?
You just turned a ballpark price into a scheduling call.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that mindset and that process, okay, the mindset is everybody that calls in is a customer. And the process, listen, care, reassure. I took that call and made it into an opportunity. Okay, so what usually happens? Hey, I'm looking for a ballpark price. Oh, shoot, they don't give us any pricing at all, so I can't give you anything over the phone. Okay, thanks, bye. You see, you say no, they say no. They reciprocate. You say yes, they say yes. It's not logical. It's emotional. Okay, I usually like to ask a group of people, guys, tell me the most sensible car to buy. Just the most sensible car on the market. And guess what they usually say?
Oh my gosh, you're not asking a car person at all, but I'm going to go ahead and guess the Cybertruck. No, I'm kidding.
Come on,
No, what is it? What's the guess?
Civic. It's a Honda Civic, right?
Sure.
It's most sensible, most logical. It's going to run till the wheels fall off. And then I say, okay, cool. How many of you guys own a Honda Civic? And no one raises their hands. Okay, so we buy emotionally. We do. Now, we justify the purchase logically. Okay, so for example, I've got an Audi. How did I justify it? Well, I wanted it first because it's super quick, right? You push right on the pedal and it goes, right? And it's super, super fast. The acceleration is incredible. And so I can get through an intersection really quickly. And this is why it's so important for me to have this car. That's why I need to spend the extra $20,000 to $30,000 instead of the Honda Civic, because I just need to be faster off the stoplights. You see what I just did there? Emotional, but I justified it logically. Okay, but the emotion was the driving force behind it. And so the same is true when somebody calls in. They call in and they initially think, oh, I'm going to get 5 bids. Okay, do they really want 5 bids?
No,
it's 90 minutes with 5 different people. That's 2.5 days. Obviously it could be 3 days. It could be 4 days, depending on the company schedule. It could be longer than that. And so they don't want 5 bids. They feel like they have to have 5 bids. So all you need to do in the beginning of that phone call is to help them see that we totally understand their situation. And that we care deeply, and that they've called the right place. We're reassuring them that they've called the right place. We take care of those emotional needs. Guess what? Their need to have 5 bids, gone.
well, yeah, I would imagine that. I'm not a homeowner, which I joke about on the show all the time. Maybe one day folks will tune in and I'll be like, guess what, guys? But for now, I'm not. And I can imagine that if, as a potential first-time home buyer in the future, not knowing how my unit works, not knowing how all of the, critical things in my house work, okay, I have to get 5 bids so I can get a sense for how much this costs. So I need to make sure that I'm not ripped off. I'm trying to protect myself. And when you come in as the salesperson, you're reassuring me this is the right place. Now that fear has been taken away.
You got it. So as far as the mindset is concerned, and it doesn't matter who calls in. I want a ballpark price. I want to know what your charge come out. I want to talk to a technician. It doesn't matter. Okay, hey, I want to talk to a technician. Great. We have a lot of those. Tell me more about your situation. Let me make sure I'm sending out the right one. And I take them through the same process. Listen, care, reassure, ask when. Okay, I just want to know what you charge to come out. It's a great question. It really depends on your situation. Can you tell me more about it? Once again, it does depend, because if they want us to fix it, there might be a dispatch fee there. If they want us to replace it, guess what? No fee. Either way, I need to know more. It's legitimate. It's not I'm not trying to
smoke and mirrors.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the mindset that we're looking for, as well as the process. Let's say that it's an advertiser that calls in. Advertiser calls in and they say, hey, I've got these amazing billboards. Oh, cool. If you wanted, I could tell my boss that there's another person that wants to sell advertising to them, or I could tell them that existing customer wants to sell them billboards. And at this point, you can simply say, hey, look, I've got a service agreement. It's awesome. We come out in the spring, we come out in the fall, make sure it's running at peak efficiency, your system. And the cool thing about it is it prevents premature breakdowns from occurring. Now, if you want it, I can get you going on this membership. That way I can go back to my boss and tell her that we happen to have an existing customer that crazy thing sells billboards.
Wow.
Now, if I'm a business owner, and I ask this all the time of business owners, you guys, how often would you be more inclined to work with an existing customer that sells billboards instead of a random person that sells billboards? And they're, oh yeah, absolutely. I totally work with. And even if you don't work with that billboard person, they're going to call you a whole lot less because they know that when they call, they're going to have to get a membership. You're welcome.
Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah. Let's say that somebody's mother calls in, and we love mothers, Jackie. Of course we love mothers. Yeah. We would definitely like them to call in as long as they're willing to buy a membership when they do. That's the mindset. Okay. The mindset is that everybody that calls in is a customer. Everyone. As long as we have that mindset, we're going to be in the mode of saying yes all the time. Okay, that's the mindset. And then, of course, we arm you. Once you have the right mindset, we arm you with the process. And it's all here in the Pattern for Excellence. And that's why we have CSRs that book 100% of their phone calls.
Wow. I know also when it comes to the Pattern for Excellence, you encourage CSRs to view the work they do as a career, not just a job. And that really transforms how they approach call taking and whatnot. And I would love if you could tell me a bit about, maybe you have a specific example or two of CSRs who mastered kind of the pattern of excellence and changing their mindset and how it changed them, how it changed their life, their career, whatever.
Yeah. So our goal is to get CSR. It's a great question. Our goals are to get CSRs to the point where they feel comfortable talking about membership, their membership program over the phone. If they can talk about the membership over the phone. So here's what I do. I book that call. As soon as I'm done booking that call and I've created a great relationship with them, if I'm listening, if I'm caring, if I'm reassuring, if I'm building value before I present a dispatch fee, there's a good relationship there, right? There's trust being built, all right? And if you're having just a little bit of fun, that's the goal. Have just a little bit of fun. They're going to be super comfortable with you over that phone. And so at that point, you can simply say, hey, Mr. Jones, I'm looking at your notes and I noticed you don't have a membership with us. I'm wondering why not. Well, what is it? Right? If that customer feels super comfortable, they're going to want to know what the heck it is. What are you talking about? Well, it's a membership that we come out in the spring, we come out in the fall, we make sure it's running at peak efficiency. The best part about it is it prevents premature breakdowns. You know, things like this, the thing that you're dealing with right now, from happening. Now, if you want it, I can get you going on it right now. Now, let's say that you get 30 phone calls that come in a day, and you ask that question on every phone call, at least every one that doesn't have a membership. And let's say that 20 out of the 30 respond with, oh, I'm good. And we're not going to push it. That's fine. What that means is that there are 10 that say, well, what is that? Now let's imagine for a moment that 2 out of that 10 decide that they want to do it. They want to do the membership, right? And let's say that we pay that CSR $10 per membership. How much money do they make a day if they sell 2 a day? Well, they just paid $20. Okay. 5 days a week. Now it's $100. Now we realize that CSRs generally do not work 52 weeks out of the year. So let's just say 50 times 100. We now have helped them make $5,000 a year in added income. So our goal for CSRs is to help them become autonomous as a CSR, to help them become more self-reliant. In other words, reliant on themselves to make as much money as they'd like to make. Now, once we've given them the opportunity to make money on inbound phone calls, we simply invite them to do the same on outbound calls when calls are not coming in. So instead of them reading their favorite novel or doing collections or accounting or what have you, instead of all that, if calls aren't coming in, we simply want them to call out and do the same thing they were doing on the inbound calls. Now, what you do is you do it on a happy call. You call a customer, you say, hey, Bill is just out to your home. How did he do? Oh, he was great. Love that guy. Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. You know, I'm looking at your notes. I noticed that you don't have a membership yet. I'm wondering why not. You see what I just did? Simple, easy, straightforward. And now I have control over my own income, which will give me the ability to stay a whole lot longer in that seat. Now I can get more creative. I say, for example, you just booked a a service call. Mr. Jones, I'm looking at your notes, and we've been working on that same system for about 12 years now. You've gotten some great life out of it. Have you ever considered replacing it? So now I'm not just booking a service call, I'm booking a replacement call. The cool thing about a replacement call is it's free. So you don't have to pay any extra for it. You've got both appointments. Let's say that I do plumbing and heating and cooling. Hey, Mr. Jones, I'm looking at your notes. I noticed that we have never done plumbing for you. Why not? I didn't even know you did plumbing. Funny thing, we've been doing plumbing for 20 years. Do you have any plumbing needs? Yeah, I happen to have a, but guess what? Everybody's got a plumbing need. Okay, whether it's a leaky toilet or a shower that fills up, but of course it only goes to your ankles, and so it's fine, right? It's totally fine. You're going to put up with it. We put up with stuff all the time. And so when we bring up, hey, we do plumbing, we do electrical, so on and so forth, and we end up booking a second appointment, should we not get compensated for that? So now the CSR is armed with an ability to create the right buying environment for a customer. Let's say that they were to work in tandem with the technician. Okay, so they call the customer up a half hour before the technician comes out. Hey, Mr. Jones, Billy's coming out. He's very excited to work with you. Oh, that's great. I'm fantastic. I think I've worked with Billy before. Chances are you have. In fact, let me look at your notes. Yes. As a matter of fact, he has been out to your home about 6 months ago. So he's going to take great care of you. Be sure to ask him about UV lights, because I noticed during our conversation that you were talking about asthma that you were dealing with before. Well, we have ways to clean the air you breathe in your entire home. So be sure to ask him about that. Okay, so Billy goes out, and the CSR has already planted the seed about our indoor air quality products. And so let's say that Billy closes it. If Billy closes it, now we can start talking about paying the CSR on the average ticket that comes in. Okay, do we not pay the technician a base as well as a commission based on what he sells? Well, did the CSR not help with that? Why wouldn't we compensate the CSR similar to what we compensated the technician? And now the CSR doesn't have to be paid a salary. They can just be paid a small base because they're focused on every ticket that they are a part of. Let's say that CSR calls after Billy leaves. Hey, looking at your notes, noticed that you still don't have a membership. You got the UV light, but you didn't get the membership. What's going on? Oh my gosh, let's get on that. And we're rolling. Okay, we're rolling. The CSR has plenty of opportunity to be as successful as they want to be, to affect their own income as much as they want. We just need to start looking at it the right way.
That's incredible. So it's essentially taking that mindset and being primed to see every connection as an opportunity, and being so familiar and have confidence in the products that your company sells that you're able to quickly identify those opportunities.
Well said.
I'm curious because there's a lot of cool technology coming out to support call centers. I'm hearing buzzing about it. Angie Snow's told me a couple of things. Michelle Myers has told me a couple of things.
Great
and I'm
people.
Curious, what are you most excited about, and how, when it comes to new tech like AI for call centers, and how are you using it at Power Selling Pros?
Yeah, so there's two that come to mind for me. Dispatch Pro is awesome.
Your check's in the mail. Thank you so much. That was unprompted. I will tell you all, that was unprompted. Continue.
Well, the goal is to, we've been talking for, since as long as I've been in the industry, dispatching for profits. Now, if you've got technicians that are performing at a high level, of course we want to dispatch to them. And so for AI to do that automatically for us is just genius. So if you're not using it, you guys, you should use it. The second one I would say is second chance leads. Now, this is something that ServiceTitan does as well using AI. All you have to do is turn it on. And you don't pay a dime until you save that lead, essentially. Okay, you save the lead. Guess what? You win, and guess what? ServiceTitan wins. That you paid them a little bit of money, but it was at a point where you were losing anyway. So it's brilliant. It's fantastic AI. So if you haven't turned it on, turn it on now. If in the back of your head you're going, "Geez, well, even if we did turn it on, I don't know if we'd ever get to that lead." Well, then fine. Have Power Selling Pros do it for you. We've got a team called Book that could take that phone call and rebook it for you. So either way, you have no excuse. Turn it on and make sure you get a second chance of that lead. Okay. Instead of your CSR taking that lead and putting it in the abandoned call list so it doesn't affect their conversion, let's turn on the AI that ServiceTitan's invested in and to get a second chance at it.
Amazing. Ooh, that abandoned calls list. You know all of the tea. You know all the tricks.
Yeah, I've been here a while.
Yeah. So You've just got a wealth of experience, Brigham, and I really appreciate you going through all of the different examples of what these calls could look like. It's got me thinking, and I'm not even really a salesperson. Everyone's a salesperson, but I digress. You've also recently developed a technician soft skills training, which asks the question, which kind of took me aback when you first told me about it, which is, how do you get kissed on the first date? And I would love to hear more about this.
Now, this is obviously not a question you'd ask CSRs. You got to make sure you know your audience. But with a group of technicians, they're generally, and we're getting more females, and I love it. You guys, the more, the merrier. If you have females that go into a customer's home, it is a very powerful thing. I just, for whatever reason, every female technician that I work with, if I'm there and we happen to be in the home together, she is crushing it. It is just easy for her. It comes natural to listen. It comes natural to care. It comes natural to reassure the customer that they've called the right place. This is adaptive learning for men for whatever reason, whereas with females, with women, it comes natural. They do it in autopilot. Speaking of Mother's Day, we should go back to that towards the end of this. So with technicians, primarily male at this point, right? I ask them a very specific question. Now, this is important because usually I'm working with a technician first thing in the morning before we do ride-alongs throughout the day. And I do this, I've been doing it for the last 4 months, just about every week. And so I simply ask guys, how do you get kissed on the first date? And it doesn't matter how early it is, right? They don't need coffee anymore. They sit up in their chair. Why? Because they're about to learn something very cool. And even if they're married, you know, and I know that they haven't been kissed in weeks, right? So they're about to learn something really cool. So I say, guys, you got to have 3 things. Number 1, you've got to make sure that your date feels comfortable. Because guess what? If they don't feel comfortable, you're not going to get kissed. And they got to feel safe. Because guess what? They need to feel safe if you're going to get kissed. Okay. And then lastly, they got to have just a little bit of fun. In that environment, you have a great opportunity to get kissed. Now, this is where a really smart alecky technician pipes up and says, so wait a minute, you want us to kiss our customers? No, I do not. But I do want you to create an environment of safety, comfort, and fun inside that home. You see, that environment is a buying environment. Okay, nobody likes to get sold. All right, if they feel sold, you killed the ghost. Pack up your bags, take your tools, and get out of that house as quickly as possible because they're done. But if you have the right environment, an environment of safety, comfort, and fun, you're going to have a customer that hangs out with you for a while. So the technician goes, oh, so it is a date. Yeah, essentially. Your goal is for the customer to be there the entire time, not to walk away, but be right next to you the entire time. Why? Because what will happen is you'll uncover things together. You'll uncover situations and things that need to be fixed together. And you're like, oh my gosh, look at this. Oh, and then the customer's going to be right there going, wow, that's not right, is it? No, it's not right at all. Oh my gosh, well, what are my options? I'm glad you asked. Here's what we can do. And the next thing you know, you're not just looking at the thing you've been called out to do. You're actually going throughout the entire home. You're getting the tour, Jackie. You're getting the tour where There's one time I was doing this with a technician and the customer began to walk away, turn their back to us and began to walk away. And I motioned to the technician, follow him. Mm-hmm. And he's like, okay. So we get the tour. You earned the tour, buddy. Now go take the tour. And of course, as we were walking by, we see an inhaler on a coffee table. Right? We see a smoke detector hanging from a wire. We see things that just come up. Why? What are we doing? We're being curious about what's going on inside the customer's home, right? And then based on that curiosity, we find things and we provide options based on it, right? Hey, I noticed the inhaler. Yeah, my wife, she has asthma. Well, did you happen to know that we have indoor air quality products that clean the air you breathe inside your home? You could probably save money on the asthma products right there. Inhaler. Oh my gosh. Well, tell me more about that. We provide options and we simply get to yes or no. Now, at this point, a technician usually raises their hand and goes, wait a minute. No selling? At which point I say, well, did I say anything about selling? Did you say anything about selling? Nobody said anything about selling. All I want you to do is provide an environment of safety, comfort, and fun. And inside that environment, I want you to be curious about what's going on inside the customer's home. Provide options, get to yes or no. That's it. You see, technicians, they don't like to sell, but they do want to do a good job.
Yep. There you go.
And so
it's really interesting.
Oh yeah. So that's the goal. So as far as the technology is concerned, there's technology that's been coming out that records the technician. Well, what's exciting about that is that we can monitor those calls just like we monitor a CSR. You see, we have a team of monitors that monitor CSRs. We have over 1,000 CSRs in our program. And it's a bit of a university for the CSR. We take them through 4 levels of certification. By the time we're done, they're booking 85% of their phone calls. They're selling maintenance agreements, so on and so forth. And so we've been doing this for the last 15 years for CSRs. So when this technology came out about technicians inside the customer's home being recorded, and those calls can be sent to us, boy, that's easy. We can monitor their calls as well, pinpoint specific areas that we can improve upon, and provide coaching. And what we do is we do a short little video, 5 to 7 minutes, and we send it to them via text. When they click on that video, it shows us that they did, in fact, click on it and watch it, and they can do that in between calls. So, yeah, we've been working with CSRs for 15 years now, and now we're working with technicians.
That's amazing. And I should also mention that Power Selling Pros is an official partner of ServiceTitan, and I can see why. We are clearly in good company by aligning ourselves with you. I learned so much from today's call, Brigham. So thank you so much for taking me through this. And I hope you'll come back in the future, because I know you've got a ton of different topics that we could talk about. Truly, to the listeners, a little bit behind the scenes peek, Brigham gave me like 5 or 10 different themes to talk about or focus on for this episode. And I was like, well, we got to start with your core first. We got to start with the basics, but I would love to have you back. To close us out, I would love to know, what are you listening to, reading, or watching right now, whether that be music, audiobooks, movies, TV, etc.
Okay. You're in for it, Jackie.
Consider myself buckled in. Let's go.
So I believe in God, and I listen to a lot of faith-based podcasts. And I read a ton of business books as well. But these days I'm finding a lot more content that's usable from these faith-based podcasts, believe it or not, to the point where it helps me with my thinking. You know, in the beginning of this podcast, we talked about what the most important thing was, at least for me. And that's the people I bring with me to the finish line. Well, yesterday morning, I was in a company meeting, and we do a company meeting on Mondays. And one of my employees, Ryan, brought up the fact that next week is Mother's Day. Well, this last weekend, I had the opportunity to watch my granddaughter. And before my daughter left to work, she saw me at the kitchen table say to myself, I'm a grandpa now. I'm a grandpa now. I had to really focus in. And so I was just getting in the mindset. And so she left, and we had a ball, just a great weekend. But during that time, I began to appreciate my wife and my daughter and their ability to do this in autopilot. And I started thinking about all of my employees, most of which are female. And some are moms and some are not. Well, here's what's interesting, Jackie, is that my wife she's my second wife, and she doesn't have any kids of her own. And yet her ability to mother this child, and of course, my daughter and my grandchild live with us full time. And my wife, Alicia, is watching her most of the time. And yet she has time also to do her own routine and to run a business and so on and so forth. It's amazing. And my employees do the same thing. And I would say 80% of them are female. And they just have this innate ability to see everything that's going on and perform at a high level. And I just took the opportunity yesterday to simply say how grateful I was. And they could do in autopilot what I have to really, really focus on. Anyway, listening to faith-based podcasts helped me remember what's most important. And families and mothers are what's most important.
You really bookended this episode with such touching stories, and I really appreciate it, Brigham. It was really, really wonderful. And I wish this was coming out right before Mother's Day, but it will be after. And in which case, I encourage our listeners to give some gratitude to the mothers in your lives and the women in your lives.
Yes.
Brigham, truly, thank you so much for joining me today on Toolbox for the Trades. This was a wonderful conversation. I hope you'll come back. Thank you again.
Thank you.